are using these 2 sets. I am using other things as well, but primarily I wanted to concentrate on these 2 sets, really just to show you how fabulously they all work together. So you can cut these out in coloured card, you can cut them out in white card and colour them yourself, and I've done a little bit of both on the cards that I'm going to show you. The shape of the flowers I think is just adorable, and I haven't used all of the dies, but I've used quite a few of them. So let's make a start, shall we? So as I say, primarily I'm using those. So if I show you the first card, I've also used the nested and scalloped stitch rectangles for my basis of my card. And all I've done is I've cut a piece of the satin card, and I've cut 2, one in white texture card, this Lisa's white texture card, and one in the beautiful purple satin card. And then I cut out 3 circles out of the white card. Now initially I hadn't planned on cutting out the circles on the purple card, but because I wasn't really concentrating on what I was doing, I'd got them both together like this, and I put my dies on here, put them through the die cutting machine, and then went, oh no, done it wrong. And I thought, I don't want to waste the card. But having said that, you know, there's never any mistakes in crafting, they're happy accidents. So by cutting out these circles and then gluing them back in, what I've actually given myself is a stitched background in the, a stitched circle in the background. So it was a happy accident really. And then I thought, well, I wanted something around the edge here, but because I've used the 3 smallest circles, I haven't got anything to make like a border circle, if you know what I mean. So what I thought I would do is I would just use one of the fine liner pens, and I've used the purple. I think I used this one, no, this one, and I've just followed the cut line and just put my own stitch line all the way around those circles, and I just think it finishes that front off really nicely. So I've already stuck this down and I've stuck these circles back in, okay, and then I've put 3D pads on the back of this piece so that I can lift this up a little bit. There we go. So I'm just going to take the pads off the back of here. I mean, this is the most simple card, and I sort of looked around Pinterest for card ideas with circle dies, and this was one of the ones that I saw, and I just thought, it's so easy and so quick, but it actually looks really quite effective when it's finished. So that's why I went with this one first. But these, the die sets, they're just fabulous when you use them together. Okay, so I'm just adding that on the top there, and like I say, the most simple card. And then what I thought I would do is I would use the circles that I'd cut out of here. Now obviously I can't use this one because I've used this one to go into this circle here, okay, and I've used this one to go into this circle here. And I thought, well, I want to put one in here, so what can I use? So I actually used the centres of one of the flowers. So if you look on the back here, you get different size centres for your flowers. So I've used one of those, and again I've used a fine liner pen. I don't know whether you can see, but I've actually just gone right around the edge with the grey fine liner and just put my own stitch line on, just to make it look similar to all the others. And then all I'm doing is just adding these down into these inner circles, just for a little bit of interest really. Okay, so we'll add those down. Now I'm not 3Ding them, they're just flat. So I'm just adding this down here. Don't forget, because you're adding these to satin card, your glue will take a little bit longer to dry, but it'll still dry beautifully, so don't worry about it. You know, a lot of people do clean and simple. I don't do a lot of clean and simple myself, but this one it just sort of stood out to me really as something a little bit different, quick and easy, that anybody can do. I mean, to be fair, anybody can do any of the cards that I'm doing today. None of them are difficult, and the dies just make it so easy. And you can see I've already stuck my gems down because I didn't want to mess around sticking gems down, so I've already done those. Okay, so that's the basis of my card, and then all I'm actually going to do is add a sentiment. So I've used the Tatty words for this, and I just think this is such a cute set of dies. I'm not sure whether there are any in stock at the moment, but I have a feeling Lisa said something about new ones. I might have just heard that wrong, I don't know, but I just love the font on this, and I love the little tails on them. I think they're just really cute. So I'll just put my glue on the back of my sentiment and add that down to the card, and that is literally all I am doing on this card. So you can see you don't need to do much to just make a beautiful card with the circle dies. I mean, I haven't used really anything other than the dies in the set, sentiment obviously, but the main card is just the dies in the set. So I'm just gonna, I don't usually do central, but we'll do central for this one. So that's card number 1. How easy was that? So that's card number 1. So that was a 5x7. This is also a 5x7 because there's always people that ask me. And all I've done with this, again, I've used both sets together, and I've used the circle dies, and you can see here that I've just cut it in white texture card, and then I've inked it, and I've used rhubarb jam on this because the rhubarb jam matched my card colours that I was using. Okay, I've put 3D pads on the inner circle, and the back circle is going down flat, okay, because I want it to have some dimension, but obviously I'm sort of conscious of people posting and the like. If you want to put this one down 3D as well, of course you can, but I just thought it would be nicer if we could just had a little bit of dimension rather than quite a bit. So again, I've already put my pads on the back. So just pop that down in the centre, like so. And then you can see here that I've cut these flowers in 3 different colours. Now there are 3 sizes of petals here. There's this size, the really big size, then there's a smaller size, and then an even smaller size. And there are 2 designs, I think, as well. So you've got a design here that's got a double leaf, and then you've got a design here that's got a single leaf. Okay, so there are different flowers as well, and you've got different leaf sets as well. And then, like I say, you've got the centres of the flowers. So Lisa's actually thought about absolutely everything, really. So I'm using 3 of the same style flower in just different sizes, and I've cut them in different coloured card, okay, purely and simply because I wanted it to look a little bit different. I've also cut one of the centres, and then I'm just going to use one of the leaf dies, and I'm quite literally just going to add a little bit of glue right to the tip of this, which is how I've added it on each card that I've used it on, and I'm just going to attach it to the back of this flower here and just hold it in place a little while it just takes. So if I just get rid of that little bit of glue that's overspilled there, I mean, you needn't worry too much because it's going to dry clear anyway. And then we're popping that flower there. Now I don't want this leaf, so all I'm going to do is just trim that off to fit the edge of my circle. And then I can use that leaf on something else, okay? And then I'm going to pop this down with a little bit of 3D glue gel, only because the rest is added with 3D glue and I've shaped the flower. So if I don't add this down with 3D glue, it's not going to sit right on the card, and I want to make sure that it's not going to fall off basically. So a little bit of 3D glue. I don't really need to add any glue to the stem on the leaf because it doesn't really need it. It's not going to go anywhere. And then pop this down in the centre of that circle. So I'm going to line it up with the edge of this leaf where I've cut it, just so that it sits where I wanted it to sit. Okay, and then this little sentiment here, which is, you know, as simple as it gets, isn't it, really? You've got 2 circles, 3 flowers and a sentiment, and the sentiment is from the Scripted Edges set. I've used it a couple of times actually because I just love the font. I just think it's just so classy. You don't always need a drop shadow on it either, especially if you're putting it straight onto white card. So that's just a bonus. So I'm just going to add this down, and again I'm adding it flat because it doesn't need to be 3D'd, and it's very difficult to 3D these because of the scripted style of them. There isn't really anywhere to put your 3D glue gel, so that's the other reason I'm doing it flat. So I'm just pop that down there, and again another clean and simple card, but very effective. I just think the dies speak for themselves. They're so easy to use. They cut like an absolute dream. I mean, they cut through 2 layers of card because as I say, I cut the satin card when I didn't really mean to cut the satin card, and that was behind the white texture card. So, you know, they do cut really, really beautifully. So I'm going to pop that down there. Card number 2 done. And again, clean and simple, quick and easy, but how effective. You know, it's just so easy to make classy looking cards, and they vary your colours. I think more than anything it's the shape of them. You know, they're not a complete round flower. Do you know what I mean? I think they're a similar sort of idea to the Beautiful Buds, and that is one of my absolute favourite sets. So that's card number 2. So then I thought card number 3, let's go card number 3. I thought we'd go all one colour, just to prove that you don't need loads of different colours. I'll just pop the lid back on there for a second. So again, this is a 7x7 card, and I've cut this all in white and I've inked it myself. Okay, so I've cut the largest circle, and I've used eucalyptus leaves, and I've used eucalyptus leaves across the board, so everything is inked in eucalyptus leaves, and I just adore this colour. I think it's such a beautiful colour. Now, shall I do it flat? I will do it flat because this is 3D'd. So I'm going to do the back circle flat. So again, then I've cut the next one down again in white card. This is just plain white card, it isn't even texture card. And I don't think I've used texture card on any of this. It's just plain white smooth card. I think it's a piece that I had in my stash from ages and ages ago because it's a little bit thicker than Lisa's extra smooth card, which I would normally use. But this was, as I say, just a piece I found. So I'm going to pop that down on there, hoping that it's central. Okay. And then I cut one of the vases. So I've used the Urn, Jug and Vases set, and I've used this one. I was going to use this, but it was a little bit tall for what I wanted to do, so I've used this one. And again, I've inked the card in eucalyptus leaves, and then I've used the Crackle stamp, and I've inked it with the eucalyptus, the blending ink, and I've just stamped the Crackle onto the top of the card, and then I've die cut my vase shape. Okay, because I just think I love to see vases with like a crackle on them. I just think it gives a sort of a a really nice look to them, so I like to do that. So then I'm going to pop this down, and I'm popping this down with 3D pads again, but you'll notice that I haven't put 3D pads at the top here. That's because if I put the 3D pads at the top, my stems of my flowers aren't going to go where I want them to go. Okay, so I'm going to pop this down here, right on the edge of the stitch line at the bottom of that circle. Okay, now you can see here that I've inked my flowers, again same colour, just the eucalyptus leaves, but I've only used one size of the flower on this occasion. Alright, now I'm just going to pop my, just going to work out where I want these. I have done this already, but I didn't take a photograph or anything, and you'll notice that I've cut the bigger leaf off this leaf set, and that's because I want that to sit here, but I don't want it, I didn't want a leaf on this side because I didn't want it to look like it was coming out of the side of the vase, because it wouldn't come out of the side of the vase, would it? It comes out of the top, so that's why I've cut that leaf off. So if I just glue these down in place first, and I'm only actually gluing the leaves because I think the stems aren't going to go anywhere if you've glued the leaves. So I'm just going to pop that down there. That one out of the way. Time to pop this one in the middle. And then the one with only one leaf, what have I done with that? There it is. Upside down so I couldn't see it. And then I'm just going to pop this one on the side here. And then I can place my flowers where I want them. Okay, so those are my stems, and then I can pop my flowers down. Now I'm going to 3D the flowers with a little bit of 3D glue gel so that they sort of sit a little bit proud. Now I don't know whether you can tell, but if you look closely at the centre here, you'll notice that I've cut the centres of the flowers out of the piece of crackle that I did. So I just inked the stamp and just stamped it all over the piece of card that I'd inked. So some of the centres have got crackle on them and some haven't. So shall we go in and add another couple down there? Yeah, go on, why not? Let's go for it. 4 won't work, no, definitely not. No, never use an even number of flowers. Always go for an odd number. It balances it out better. There's a reason behind it, and I know Lisa knows what it is, but I can never remember what the reason is. I just know that people say don't use an even number, always use an odd number. So I always do as I'm told, well, nearly always. So let's just pop that there, and then just pop the other one the other side, like so. Yeah, I think that's okay. Do you know what I haven't done? I didn't do a sentiment for this. I will put a sentiment on it, and I will probably put the sentiment sort of off the vase so that it sort of starts in the middle of the vase and comes off to the side. I'm not sure why I forgot to do the sentiment, but there you go. Okay, so that's my card number 3, and just goes to show that you don't need to use loads of colours. If you've only got a couple of ink pads, you can do a monochrome card with just a couple of ink pads that you've got, or one ink pad even. When I've added my sentiment, that again will be another clean and simple card. But I think what I'm trying to say is you don't need lots of stuff. These die sets just lead you down a more clean and simple route, I suppose. So that's card number 3. And then I thought I'll go completely different, right? and this is really different. Now you have to excuse the mess on the front. It's my own fault. I put the sentiment on crooked, and when I tried to stand it up, it just wouldn't stand up right, and the sentiment was just wonky, and I kept looking at it and thinking it'll be okay, and then I thought no, it won't. So I actually slipped a craft knife behind the sentiment. I've used Lisa's glue, and I've literally peeled it off. Took me ages, but it's worth it because I couldn't have lived with it. So I've made a circle easel card, and I've cut basically one of the largest bubble circles, and then I've cut another one, but what I've done is I've folded the card in half, and I've actually only cut it to the edge of the card. So basically, if you fold the card over like that, okay, and you place your die on the folded edge so that your die hangs over the edge, then you won't cut this piece, and that fold there will give you that crease there. So that gives you something to stick your easel to, like so. So you only need to glue half of it. So you stick it to the back of your other circle. Are you with me? And then you can just decorate as you wish. So I've cut the largest non-bubble circle in blue, and again in white. So the blue one's on the bottom, and then I've used not the very smallest, but the next two up, and just use that as a stopper, okay? And I've 3D'd that so that it stands up a little bit, and I've actually 3D'd the inner circle on top of it, just so that it gives us a little bit of height, so that it acts as that stopper for that easel, okay? So that's my basic easel card, and then I need to decorate it. And like I say, I made a mess of it, so I changed it completely as to what I was going to do. Now I've added in some of the modern berries, so I've used this set as well, and I just think these are fabulous fillers that go with anything floral. They're just fabulous, they really are. So I've used those, and then what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to add these down anywhere. I don't mind how many I use or how many I don't use. So I'm going to go, I'm really and truly, it's primarily to try and hide the mistake that I made earlier on. I think two's all I'll need. So I'm just going to add those down first, and then I can add my flowers. Now I've used coloured card on the red one, and I've used ink on white card on the monochrome one, and on this one I've used white texture card, and I've used pina colada and Surf's Up to do my colouring. So I'll just show you those in 1 second. I'll just pop these down first. And I just think they give you a perfect background to add your flowers to. They've got so much interest in them. I mean, I've got loads of these cut. I did in lots of different colours. I just went mad one day and had a die cutting session. So let's add this one down the other way, like so, and that gives you your background to add your flowers to. So here's my flowers, and you can see that I've inked these. As I say, I used pina colada and Surf's Up just to add some colour. And when I did the centres, I cut them out of a really pale lemon colour, and I wasn't really happy with them, so all I've done is I've just gone over them with pina colada and just inked them using my brush with pina colada, so that it all sort of matches in really. So then all I need to do is just place these where I want them. So I've got a couple of larger flowers, which are going to go either end, like so. And then I've got two of the smaller ones, sort of like next one down, which are going to go here. And then I've got four of the little ones. And I'm just going to add these down wherever. It's very random. I haven't really planned where they're going. Just wherever I can fit them in, really. Like so. Whoops, not upside down there. Okay, so they're just going to go across there like that. And I am going to 3D them because I just think giving that bit of dimension to the centre of that card will make all the difference. So, get my glue gel. I love Surf's Up, and that Pina Colada goes with Surf's Up really lovely. Pina Colada, I think, out of the second set, has to probably be my favourite. Although they are all gorgeous. But I just think it's so different to Juicy Pineapple. I just think it's fab. So I'm going to pop that down there, like so, so that it's on the edge. And I'm going to do the other largest flower, and I'm going to work inwards so that I'm sort of adding on top all the time. That way. It's better. And then I can add all the others on top. So I'm going with the two neck size down. And then I'll fill in with the other four. And you can see that I've shaped the petals so that they sort of lift off the page, because I just think it looks really fab. Of course you can add them flat if you want to, but I think when you add a little bit of extra dimension, it just lifts them. I just think they're fabulous flowers. Okay, so I'm going to come in with that one there. And I'm going to come in with the other one, the other side, like so. So you can see that I'm actually filling the gap, but because I'm 3Ding them, they're not flat filling the gap, if you know what I mean. So if I just put my 3D glue on here, and then we can move on to our last card. Last but definitely not least. And I know, like I said, I know this is early because they're not released till the 12th, but I just could not contain my excitement about how fabulous they are. So I hope you think, like I do, that they are a definite need, a definite need. Right, so let's add these down and fill that gap in, and then all we need to do then is add our sentiment. So I'm going to come that way, I think, with that one. Stuck it to my finger now. Oops. And then come in that way with that one, and then just fill in those two little gaps with those other two small ones, like so. I've got 3D glue gel all over my fingers now. Okay, so that's the main sort of focus of my card, and then all I wanted to do was just add a really small sentiment just to finish it off. Now I probably would have cut this in a different colour, and I'm going to put it down the bottom because there's more room at the bottom, but I think if you're happy with, I mean, this matches the blue on the bottom circles, so it's not like I've used a totally different blue. I've used the same one, but I think I would probably have been a little bit better going over it with Surf's Up so that it matched the flowers a little more, but I don't think it's going to matter. It all ties in somehow. To make sure I've got it straight, because that was what caused my problem in the first place. Okay, so there we go. Nice pretty little easel card that is just, you could have added more modern berries if you wanted, so that they were a little bit more obvious, but I don't think you necessarily need to. It's just a little bit of added interest in the background, but I just really like those colours. I just think they just work. That pina colada is fabulous. Now the last little thing that I was going to add onto this card was a flower in the centre down here, but I'm not sure now whether I actually need it. What do you think? Do you think I need the flower or not? It was only an extra added thought, to be honest, because I'd got flowers left over, so I just thought I would just add them together and then see what you thought. So I can either add them or not, and I'll just reach card number 5 over so that we can finish that off. I'll leave it there and then you can decide. And then this one is the last one. Now again, this is a 7 by 7. Again, I've just basically used the circles because that's what I wanted to focus on. Okay, so I've cut the middle bubble circle and I've cut the one that goes on the inside of that. Okay, but I'm not using that on there. I'm using that down here as a separate entity. Okay, quick question, did I colour the card before I die cut? On those blue and yellow ones, I die cut the flowers and then I added the colour, primarily because I'd already cut some flowers and I hadn't decided what I was going to do with them, so I hadn't decided on colours. So those I've added the colour after I've die cut them, but it really doesn't matter. If you want to ink a piece of card with different colours and then die cut them, you can do that. Like here, I've inked a piece of card and this is the smallest circle, and I've just cut this out of a piece of card that I've inked, and I've sort of done it a little bit ombre, and I've used Sweet Violet and Shocking Pink because I just think those colours go together really well. Now I can use these, or I can use flat back gems, because I don't think I need both, but I'm undecided. So this one, I've just die cut the circle, as I say, and all I'm doing is sort of a white on white background, 3D pads again, just to make it, just to lift it off the base card a little bit, because I think it's worth it. I'm going to add that there. And then again with this, I've just used that same Scripted Edges sentiment, the With Love, and I've inked the piece of card with Sweet Violet and Shocking Pink, so it's got sort of an ombre effect on the sentiment, because I just like it, and I think the colours work so fabulously together. So if I just take these off the back here, so that's my main piece for my flower and my sentiment. Okay, and this is my flower, and again I've die cut the flowers and then I've inked them, and again it's Sweet Violet and Shocking Pink, but you can see here that I used the the leaf stem, this one here, as my main stem for the flower, but I actually wanted some leaves on it. So what I've done is I've used this one and I've cut these pieces down and I've glued it to the back of the main stem. So I've got both. I've got this piece that's got the green piece, sort of calyx, isn't it, that sits underneath the flower, but I've also got leaves. So you can, you know, you can mix and match and adapt them. They're really easy to do that with. I don't know whether you can't even see where I've glued it. and then I'm going to pop that down there in the centre. So similar to the red one, but not too similar. So I'm going to use my 3D glue gel because, as I say, I've shaped the flower, and because I've shaped the flower, if I just use ordinary glue, it's not going to sit right on the card and it won't be secure. So I'm going to use my 3D glue gel, and then on the leaves I can just use ordinary glue because they're going to sit flat on the card, like so. Okay, so I'll flip that over and put it at an angle because I think it looks better on an angle, and just press that down slightly, and you can see I've used a flat back gem on the centre of that flower rather than one of the centres that comes with the die set. Okay, so that's that bit, and then, as I say, I just need to decide whether to use the circles that I cut and inked or the gems. I think I'm veering towards the gems, if I'm honest, because they tie in with the one on the flower. So I think I'm going to do that. But again, this is another clean and simple card. There isn't a great deal to it, but because of the detail in these flowers and the added background of the circles, I just think you don't need much. Do you know what I mean? It really does lean you towards clean and simple. Doesn't mean you've got to do clean and simple, of course. You can do whatever suits. But I just think they're really beautiful dies, go together like an absolute dream, cut beautifully, and they're just stunning, absolutely stunning. So 5 cards in about 40 minutes, but all look really quite different, and yet they're exactly the same die sets every time. So, you know, they work together so beautifully. They really do. And I honestly don't think you will regret whether you get both, whether you get one. They're just to die for. They really are. So there you go. There's 5 cards using 2 die sets, a couple of other things along the way, but mainly 2 die sets. So have a fabulous week, and I will see you all very soon. So take care of yourselves, and thanks for joining me. Bye now.